Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke?
Luke, we're joined here today, live at Autodesk University 2019, by Rob Cohee, Senior Product Manager for Fusion 360 Mechanical Design.
I think that's what they told me to put on my business card, yeah.
Very good. That's, good job listening to instructions. Thanks for joining us today, Rob.
Right on, this is great. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and I've been looking forward to this since you guys started. So.
I think we've shunned you for the...
A little bit.
Okay.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
He's giving me the stink eye.
He is.
Because I think he was my boss for a good period of this time
Yes, it was.
Didn't have him on the show.
That's correct.
Okay.
Luke's not really good at the politics part of the game.
Yeah, neither am I.
Okay, before we get started, we always like to do a little icebreaker to make you feel comfortable with us, make sure you're feeling good. And this is Autodesk Fun Facts History Edition.
All right,
Don't look at the screen.
I'm not looking.
You've been here long enough, so I'm thinking you're going to do well.
I have high hopes for you on this one.
Lauren did the best so far.
I think he beat Andrew. We're not sure.
Oh, wow.
We have to tally the results.
All right.
So who is considered to be the founder of Autodesk along with roughly 17 of his best friends?
John Walker.
Easy.
How does everyone know this? What was Autodesk originally named?
So Autodesk was an application. It was meant to compete with like Windows. I don't remember. So Autodesk was a product that ended up being turned into the company name. AutoCAD took off more than Autodesk did, which is
You're not even close.
We're going with Marin Software Partners.
Oh, jeez.
Was that I knew that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what were the project names for AutoCAD R9, R10, and R11?
I'm going to go with, I have no idea.
Oh, they were the albums by the Beatles, The White Abbey Road, and Let It Be.
Have you seen Yesterday?
No, is it good?
It's really good.
I was going to watch it on the plane on the way home.
Really
I
good.
have that option
Highly recommend it, and I know I'm stalling.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. What company was acquired and where? What company was acquired where then future CEO Carl Bass worked? Where did Carl come from?
You got it. It's on the I can tell.
Oh, my God. This is terrible.
It's the pressure. It's the nerves he has from being up here with such celebrities.
I think that, yeah.
It's named after a city where... Come on.
It's in New York.
There you go.
It is in New York.
Syracuse. We got to time
Ithaca
it out.
Software.
Okay.
Ithaca. God dang it.
Now, so this one you better
I'm
get.
not allowed to swear on this.
Oh,
right?
no, you can. Just not too high in the swear level. So what was the code name for Inventor?
Rubicon.
There we go.
You better know that
I'm
one.
back on track.
Okay.
All right, really good one here. What is the most popular STEM podcast run by Autodesk employees?
Unprofessional Engineering.
Very good. Okay, lightning round. This is all about acquisitions. What building technology company was acquired in 2002?
Revit.
What was acquired in 2006 with the FBX file format?
Lauren is the only one that got this.
V-Ray.
Alias.
What
You have to say it this time.
I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. What is considered the greatest acquisition of all time by Autodesk? It was a simulation company back in December 17th, 2008.
It's subjective, the greatest of all time.
Right. This is
By the person who wrote the question.
Think who wrote the question.
Yeah. Al Gore.
Al Gore, that's right. Well
There
done.
we go.
2011, what website and platform where people can share their ideas and DIY projects was acquired?
That is, I almost said Tinkercad. It's,
No.
Instructables.
Very
There you
good.
go.
What giant acquisition went down in 2014 for the UK-based CAD/CAM software? Who were they?
Oh, Delkin.
Okay. All right, pretty good.
did-
Especially,
you did
really
all right.
recovered well on the end there. Well done.
The long history, I barely remember what I did last night.
Right.
Well, that's for other reasons.
For other reasons.
All right, so let's move on to the more serious part of this, and let's set the tone properly. How about those Huskers? I mean, they've been beaten up on what? South Alabama, most of
So bad.
Illinois.
Are you going to walk off the stage?
So bad.
Pretty rough, I
So
know.
bad right now.
Okay. Hey, Penn State has one loss, so I feel for you.
Yeah, but we're third year in a row, we're not going to make a bowl game.
I know, it's rough.
It's terrible.
All right. So you've moved over to the Fusion 360 product team, what, a couple years ago now?
A year, a year ago last month. Yeah.
Okay.
So it hasn't been that long, but it feels longer.
Okay. Okay. Well, how's that treating you? Speaking of,
It's good. It's interesting. The reason I took the job was I'm extremely. I was with Inventor since Rubicon, and I'm extremely passionate about certain aspects of just basic modeling that I wanted to make sure that we got right. And I wanted to make sure that we got the right person for the job. Turns out the right person for the job, in my opinion, was me.
That works. That works.
So yeah, I just there's some things. The general experience for building a cloud-based product development platform. There's some things that I felt that we just needed to do as core fundamentals in the product that I was super passionate about, and the more that I was outspoken about it, certainly internally, as to some of the things we were doing and some of the decisions we were making, the more I talked about it internally with some folks, the more they said, okay, put your money where your mouth is and go build it. So that's what we're doing.
cool.
And you haven't regretted that?
No.
Okay.
The pace of change is not necessarily reflected in our pace of release. So that's one of the things that we struggle with in terms of we release a new update every 6 weeks, right?
So fast.
But that suggests that we can turn a feature on within 6 weeks. We can copy and paste code from Inventor, for example, in sheet metal. I get a lot of feedback on some of the capabilities in sheet metal, and they're like, well, you have it in Inventor. Why don't you just copy and paste the code over to Fusion? If it were that easy,
right.
We'd be flying,
Yeah.
right? So the expectation of the pace of change is that's one of the things I think that I personally struggle with. Like I want to be able to deliver all of the depth of capabilities that a professional expects out of an application, but also recognizing that Fusion's 6 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Not 20.
Yeah.
Right. So
Happy birthday, Inventor.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Inventor.
So the Fusion team has roughly like 420 product managers,
Give or take.
roughly, give or take.
All right.
So could you explain the reasoning behind kind of, you said your like core design capabilities, but then there's other capabilities. What's the thought on breaking that up and making sure that happens that way, rather than just like a general product manager that kind of oversees everything? There are some significant advantages to having depth of knowledge and certain capability. When you have, this is one of the favorite things that I did when I was in marketing was, I described Fusion as it's not CAD, it's not CAM, it's not rendering, it's not any one of those things, it's all of those things. And as a result of that, you have to have depth of knowledge and certain capabilities that exceed any one person's ability to have that level of knowledge. Gotcha.
So, in looking after, primarily all things, whenever I explain to people, what do I do in Fusion, my team is responsible for all things 2D and 3D, right? So, what that means is we have depth of knowledge and experience in, part assembly, configurations, drawings, certainly kind of the core things that all people know about Autodesk. If I were put in charge of, say, the manufacturing side of things, I can't find the on switch on a Haas mill, right? So I would be the wrong person for that job.
I got trained in Toronto last week. I know how to hit the air button to basically blow air on the model.
To clear stuff?
Yeah, to clear stuff off.
chips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like how we've delineated based on experience and depth of knowledge in different fields. You need that depth of knowledge to really be able to meet the needs of all the folks that are here at AU.
Gotcha.
So you were literally the face of Autodesk Inventor for years.
A little bit.
I mean, pretty much completely. So let's pretend like no one's listening, and really my mom's probably the only one on there leaving awkward comments. But which one do you love more, Fusion or Inventor?
And we know you're probably not going to give like a real answer.
Oh, no. Let's hear it.
That's tough. So I'll tell you one of the things that. So I did product management for PLM 360 when we launched PLM 360.
Oh, don't give that as your answer.
And nope.
PLM 360 is my favorite.
Yeah. Gotta love me some bombs.
Yeah.
No. So when I left that role, I definitely missed being part of the design side of things. So when I came back into marketing, I came back and I was running technical marketing for Inventor and all the other products at the time. And so our first meeting, I was, man, how many people are going to hear this?
A lot.
Maybe
more
everybody
than,
on us?
more than
All right,
one.
so this is like 5 years ago, and Fusion was getting a lot of attention, obviously, and for all the right reasons. But at the same time, I was running tech marketing for Inventor.
Yeah.
Right. So internally, I was thinking, oh man, Fusion's getting all this run, Inventor's not getting any love. What should we coin Inventor? And we were in a meeting in Novi, and I'm like, well, the difference between Fusion and Inventor, as I describe it at the time, was I needed to describe it like really specifically. What's it for? And I coined professional grade engineering, and that kind of picked up some speed. And I still get some crap from that, from Mr. Hooper and Mr. Graham about coining Inventor as being professional grade. So I really, when we talk about the two, Inventor obviously opened doors for me personally and professionally, and the way that I used early social media to kind of launch some awareness and teach some people. I still get stopped through the halls of AU. It's like, hey, Rob, I watched all your videos. I learned Inventor. I got a job, from learning Inventor on your video. Like those types of things are great. So Inventor definitely has a warm spot in my heart. But I'm certainly passionate about what we're doing in Fusion. I don't know if I answered your question directly.
You
didn't. Good knowing.
Very
figured you
politically.
Okay, so when we think about the roadmap, and we talked about how quickly this agile release cycle you folks are on, it seems like every month or 6 weeks or whatever it is. Could you give us maybe some inside scoop on maybe some of the things that people know about that might make it in later? Is there anything you can drop that's coming up soon, or anything that's going to be like a full release versus like a beta?
So there's a couple things. So when I took over the team, the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that we knew who we were building the product for.
Okay.
Got the team together. Got some fans out there. Got the team together, and I went up to the whiteboard and I wrote professional on the board. And I said, look, we're taking Fusion to the commercial professional level of subscriber, and along with that becomes a lot of expectation, like minimum viable product. And some of the things that are currently not in the product, as a user comes across those and they find some of the things that, like, oh, hold on a second, we need to be able to do hole and thread notes, right? So we know, in terms of drawings and documentation, we know what we need to do, right? There's not a lot of like surprises that we're going to launch in terms of just core modeling and core drawings.
Gotcha.
That market's been defined for 30 years. We just need to quickly close some of the most critical gaps. So things like edit in place.
Okay.
Fusion, from the very beginning was a top-down modeler. It's great to have that speed and flexibility and be able to control a number of components all from a single sketch, and that multi-body modeling is really great until the point in time that you don't want that speed and flexibility.
Yeah.
And it's a clear delineation. So we enabled the ability to bring in reference components.
Okay.
About 2 years ago, I think it was, and that started to open up some ideas around bottom-up modeling. What we're familiar with with Inventor, you have a part file, you have an assembly file, you bring those things in, you constrain them. So, in introducing that as a workflow, we then had to reconsider how we're doing things like joints. Everybody asks us, "Hey, where's my constraints? Where are my mates?" And we've been sticking to joints.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the first things that's coming out here real soon, after the first of the year, is we're delineating the difference between positioning components and establishing motion.
Gotcha.
We're still married to joints. We still think it's a better modeling methodology, but we're acknowledging that there are two different steps. You're going to position components relative to one another in space, and then you may or may not establish motion.
Yes.
Right, so that's one I'm really excited about. The edit in place then capability is next.
Okay.
So that the ability to edit a component while it's referenced without having to launch it and leave the environment. And one of the things we did there that's really exciting is the way in which we handle references. So when you edit a component in place, you want to be able to project geometry from other components. Rather than managing that at the assembly level, which is what Inventor does, which is what SolidWorks does, which is what everybody does, we're pushing that context down to the component. And what that means is you can have just the component loaded, but you still have
the reference from the other parts
in the assembly. So if you forget to project a piece of geometry, it'll be down in the part, and you can just project without having to launch the bit larger assembly.
Ooh, I like that.
cool.
Yeah, it's really sexy.
I feel like that would, from a performance standpoint, you don't have to crank open this big assembly to do these edits with some references.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Changing pace a little bit here.
Okay.
Autodesk University, it's all about the community.
Yeah.
It's all about getting together with like your customers, talking with them, seeing the cool stuff they're doing, getting them together to talk about issues that they have, how to solve those problems. What are some of the cool things that you've seen here, either talking with customers or even from the exhibit hall, much of which have leveraged Fusion 360, either with generative or just the design process in general?
Yeah, the Volkswagen project was cool. It was great to see that on main stage. The amount of work that goes into developing those stories, they just don't happen. It takes a lot of it takes a lot of people inside the organization kind of driving that. Especially when we're talking about next generation technology with like generative design. A lot of the folks that have the knowledge are inside of Autodesk. And for us to impart that knowledge onto a project with a customer, we have to work very intimately with them. So the number of people inside of Autodesk that worked on that project, and to see that kind of roll up on main stage, and
It had to be pretty cool.
it's really, really super satisfying for a lot of the guys that worked on that. Michael Sagan, Paul Sohey,
I think
many
I saw a
others.
little tear in the corner of Paul's eye when it rolled up on
right?
stage.
I bet, yeah.
It's like, my baby.
Right, exactly. So that's really cool, and I love the factory. We've this is the third year of the factory.
Yeah, very cool.
Look
Garen,
at the line wrapped around the entire factory. People love that thing.
Right. 3 years ago, when Garen Gardner and team kind of launched that concept and really executed on it, still to this day, like huge kudos go out to those guys for pulling this together year after year. Yeah, like you said, there's a line around the corner, and people wait in line hours to be part of this factory, and it's super, super cool.
I think from an Autodesk point of view, little insight into Autodesk for everyone, there's a lot of times where we don't get a great rewarding feeling for the work that we do because of it's software, it goes out, you're on to the next thing.
Yep.
This is really a cool chance for us. Like you're saying, like Paul, like he saw the VW rolling out there with things that he worked on. Garen and all the other folks with the factory. It's years going now, and just the popularity of it where they're coming and getting a finished product. It's like a rare opportunity for us to have something tangible to hold on to.
Exactly.
I love it.
So there's been an announcement that Fusion 360, totally free to run generative design and download until the end of the year, until the end of December. And you being old school Inventor guy, Fusion's in the collection, whether they realize it or not, they have access to this. What do you say to that Inventor user, hardcore Inventor, never touched anything else before other than Inventor? What's your advice to them to run that first generative design study now that it's free and now that they don't have to worry about like credits or anything like that? Because I think that's one of the reasons why they did it. It's like, hey, you have this, do all you want for free. But you and I both being Inventor guys way back, I have my idea what I'd say to that person. But what's yours?
So it's interesting. You have to change the way in which you think about what you're doing. If you tell generative design to produce a specific outcome, which is what a lot of people do, right? If we think about CAD, 3D CAD in general has only done what you've explicitly told it to do.
Yeah.
So it's only repeating what you've told it through the series of commands. So you're documenting an already determined outcome, essentially, with all CAD, right? With generative design, what you're doing is you have to do the inverse of that. You have to model the problem statement.
Yeah.
So it is a hard mindset to shift from over documenting what we know to be maybe a slight improvement on a previous iteration to saying, no, I'm going to use the same modeling methodologies, but rather than producing the outcome, I want to model the problem statement.
Gotcha.
And that's a hard shift for a lot of folks, because the first couple of generative design studies, you'll find that I could have just modeled that.
Yeah.
Because you've over constrained the problem statement, and you're getting it to produce a result that you would have otherwise modeled.
Yeah.
So in that case, just go ahead and model it.
Yeah, I found myself, whenever I've used it the first couple times, I put like so many preserve and obstacles that I'm basically forcing generative to just fill in the gaps.
It carves you one hole,
and you're like, why am I doing that? It's like, that's not the point of generative. And as I've been using it more, it's like, okay, I can relax on the obstacles a little bit. The preserves are pretty important because that's like connection points, that sort of thing. But the idea that you don't have to overdo the obstacles and just let generative do, sometimes you need them.
Right.
But the idea of letting it do what it needs to do. So I like that, modeling the problem rather than the
model
solution.
the problem statement. That's we when we first launched generative design, we only had unconstrained additive as an ability, and the results, people will be like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll never do that, but that's cute. But now that we have like 2.5 axis subtractive as a result, and generative is producing a parametrically recipeed part that you would have otherwise modeled yourself.
Yeah.
That's when it's really going to start picking up speed. And we posted a generative result 2.5 axis subtractive on Instagram, and somebody commented, "I'm sorry, but what about this is generative?" Because you think that, well, generative is supposed to produce some alien life form, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not a part that looks like somebody would have otherwise modeled it. We start getting more of those results, and more organizations are going to be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. This is scaling my capability to produce. Great, let's try it.
Hoop Dog told us about that
he
when
said
we were
the exact
talking with
same.
him. Same thing about the 2.5 axis, and like you can't even tell them apart sometimes now.
Right.
Like what someone made versus what was offered up to you with generative.
Right.
And last year when we were talking to him and other folks about generative, I mean, I'm very simple-minded, so I was just like, okay, so we need 3D printing to catch up. We need to cast everything because we can never make any of this stuff. And in a year's time, it's now changed to, oh no, we've added this. I'm not going to say simple constraint, but really when you think about solving the problem, pretty simple. And now you're making parts that are completely manufacturable, way simpler, and you're not getting that, okay, great, here's this part that's never going to be able to be produced.
Right, yeah. The GE bracket was a phenomenal project. In terms of parts consolidation effort, lowering, cost of assembly. It didn't lower the cost of manufacture.
Right.
Because printing that thing is expensive, but it did lower the cost of assembly. It did produce a higher performant part at the end of the day, but in terms of producing at a volume that they expect to be able to produce at, it's just not good. You have to do something that is more higher volume ready, if you will, with current and known and well documented kind of manufacturing processes. Subtractive with is really, that's something that when people look at those results, they're going to go, I can make that.
Yeah.
And that'll be the game changer.
I like that.
All right, so we have to wrap things up here. Real quick, though. We have about a day and a half left of AU. Anything that you're really looking forward to? Classes? Something else that maybe people should keep an eye out for?
Well, the manufacturing keynote's coming up in like an hour. That's going to be huge. It's always a good time. Steve does a phenomenal job of. He's an epic storyteller, and he'll represent what it is we're doing for Fusion really well. And then later on this afternoon, and then the next day, I've got a customer listening session.
Okay.
Where we're bringing in some folks that do consumer products, and I'm actually going to ask them to do my job.
Okay.
Excellent.
And talk about, where would you hedge your bet? Where would you prioritize some of your development resources to improve the product in what areas? So really looking forward to that.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Rob, thanks a lot for joining us. First time on the show. Hopefully we have you back soon.
Yeah, maybe we'll have them back. We'll see how the views go on this one.
Fair enough.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, Rob.
Until next year.
Bye.